Welcome to the Celebrating Women podcast as Ashley Fisher and Mandee Montana dig into conversation about women, their issues, their thoughts, their lives, and celebrate their gifts, their talents, their courage. It's the Celebrating Women podcast. So here we are. We are celebrating women. I'm Mandee Montana, also known as Mandee Montana, with Ashley Fisher. And today we thought we would tell you a little bit more about Ashley. I want you to know a little bit more about why I think she's so spectacular. And part of what we wanted to do on this podcast is to spotlight and highlight women, because oftentimes women don't tell about their own victories. They don't celebrate themselves. They won't put the spotlight on themselves. They just operate in the background doing amazing things. But unless you really know them, or unless you're a close friend, you don't know that story. You don't know how it came about, or you don't have the opportunity to really shine. So we're going to shine the spotlight on Ashley today. She's blushing.
It's just the neon light.
It's just the neon light? Okay. Yeah, maybe so. But I want to hear a little bit more about you. So we talked in the first episode about how we met was through photography, and that's kind of how we bonded and became friends. But you haven't always been a photographer. This is not something, you didn't go to college for it. Like I went
right.
And then I gave it up, basically. I just do it for fun now. It's not my profession, but you picked it up kind of almost an accident, right? It was a hobby first?
Yes. So I took one photography class in high school, and that was like when they taught you how to develop your own film. There was a dark room, and that I loved that so much. And I took that class for one semester, and then years later, after I'd gotten married, my husband and I were going to be heading to New York on a trip. And I was looking around for a better camera to take good pictures of New York City. And it started me thinking about how much I loved that class. And then somehow my search online for a camera turned into a course search on TJC's website, Tyler Junior College, for photography classes. And they had some online. And when my husband got home, he said, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Well, I was looking for a camera, but then it kind of morphed into I'm looking at these classes." I said, "I just got to thinking about how much I loved that photography class." And I used to hide away in that dark room. And I loved being behind the camera. Even as a little kid, I would run around with my dad's like big old camcorder and like at 4 feet tall, run around the house and shoot video. And my husband, God bless him, he just listened to me. And I'm assuming, I need to go back and ask him. I'm assuming he saw something in me that I didn't see, that he maybe saw a light behind my eyes. Because at the time I was teaching, which I was good at. I was a good teacher. I did not love it. So I'm assuming he saw something there, and he said, "Well, babe, why don't you just start a business?"
Wait, what?
Yeah. Like, turn on the brakes. And I remember looking at him and saying, "What do you mean? Like, I'm a teacher, babe. Like, I went to school to be a teacher. My mom was a teacher. I have said since I was little, I'm going to be a teacher. I could never start a business. I am not business savvy. I'm not a businesswoman." And he just kind of kept at it. And so, and I just kind of, I remember just kind of like, "No, you're crazy. Let's go figure out a camera to buy." So we bought my first DSLR that you could interchange the lenses. So I thought I was hot stuff.
I mean, you were.
I mean, I was. Yeah. It was crop frame though. So, but, So, got the camera in. Whenever it was in my hands, I had absolutely no idea what to do with it. But I was trying and still teaching. And one day after school, talking about one of those fork in the road moments, I was in my classroom cleaning up and getting ready to go home. And one of my co-teachers poked her head out into the hallway and said, "Hey, my family and I are going to be at UT Tyler this weekend. If anybody has a camera and you want to come shoot our pictures, that'd be great." Right? So
you couldn't see what I just did, but I just kind of shook my head like, "Wait, what?"
Like, wait, what? I mean, and I don't remember what the span of time was. It was probably a span of a couple of months between when my husband had suggested that to this moment. And it was one of those, like, I stopped dead in my tracks in the middle of that 5th grade classroom. And it was just this, okay, babe, that voice, that inner voice, what you going to do? Are you going to jump on this? Because inwardly, I really wanted to. Or are you just going to keep on doing what you think you're supposed to do? And I just found myself almost involuntarily going, I'll do it. And literally the rest is history. Like that weekend, met them down at the college, took their photos, didn't do that bad of a job. And I think what got me was I was so excited. Like I went and found out, what kind of editing program can I use? And I, messed around with that. That Monday brought her a CD with like 24 pictures. And I gave it to her, went back to my classroom, and then I couldn't stand it. So I went back because I just wanted to see what she thought. And she was sitting at her desk with tears in her eyes.
Oh.
And she said, Ashley, these are so amazing. And I was hooked. I mean, because it wasn't the pat on the back. It wasn't the compliments. It was, she said, look at my daughter. Look at that smile. Look at all of us together. The last time we had family photos was when Claire was a baby. And it just did something in me. And so, yeah, I mean, it literally was, she posted a few on Facebook and then somebody else messages me, hey, like you did her photos. Could you do mine? Sure. And that's literally how the business has grown.
You said something. You said a lot of things that I really enjoyed there. The way that you told your story, but also you were passionate about it, right? Like you were excited. You dug in. You went and found what you needed to know. There's something there when that happens. But then after you took their portraits and you gave them to them, then you really felt you got to see how you had served them. Like you were there in the experience, right? Like you enjoyed it. I'm sure you were having a blast with them. I have no doubt because I've been on the other side of it. It's fun. It's fun to work with you. But when you get to see how well you have served someone, I think there's a special feeling to that.
There definitely is because it's outside of you.
Right.
It's I think if you've been alive long enough, you realize that going at this life, doing all things for yourself is just not satisfying. But when you see that the life that you live can make a difference in somebody else, that feels bigger, that feels eternal, that feels much more valuable. And for me, that's always what I'm thinking about when I'm taking someone's photo. It's not just, I want them to look good, because I do. But I'm thinking their granddaughter could sit and look at this portrait. We have how many photos of our grandparents, our great-grandparents, great-great-grandparents. The generations coming behind us are going to have so many. They're going to feel like they literally knew us because our lives are so thoroughly documented. But to think that I might have some type of hand in helping a family make and create lasting memories, not just for them, but for the generations coming after them, that's amazing.
Yeah, because the candid portraits, the things that we take on our phone, often we can be a little bit more disposable with them, I think, because at this point we take making images of each other, we take that for granted because it is literally in the palm of our hands all the time. Yes. If you have a cell phone, you have a wonderful camera attached to your hand, which, gosh, if I'd had that 20 years ago in college, wow. I also learned to process film and stuff, and that was a really cool experience. But I also value those portraits and those images that I made in a different way because of the process that it took to create them. So I think that what you do in the service that you provide in, like you said, making people feel beautiful, but you also make them feel valued, and you're creating legacy.
Yeah.
Right? Because while our lives are thoroughly documented on our cell phones and potentially on social media, or if people print photos,
that's a huge
if they print those photos.
Yep.
But oftentimes when they do invest in having a family portrait made with a photographer like you or with someone else, that is something that they will often print or preserve. And so it is a lasting legacy. And I think that's one of the things that I really appreciate about you is it's not just the quality of your work, it's the intention behind it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yeah, I really do. I love what I do. It is it's so interesting because, again, when I think it was the year after that, I was still teaching, kind of had officially started this business and just doing shoots on weekends and barely charging anything at all. And around Christmas time, one day, I think the principal came to me and said, "Hey, you've got a camera, right?" And I said, "Yeah." She said, "Well, Santa Claus is going to be in the library, and we need someone to take the kids' pictures with Santa Claus. Would you mind doing that? I'll get you a sub, and your class will be taken care of. You can come take pictures." And I was like, "Okay." So I got to leave my classroom for about 2 hours in the middle of the day and go take photos. And in those 2 hours, I had more joy and enjoyment and peace than I had had ever since being in the classroom. And when I had to turn around and go back to the classroom, I thought, ooh, that will tell you something. That contrast is such a teacher, It
is such a teacher. And I think I wanted to teach too when I was young. I really? Yeah, I really thought I wanted to be. And I'll tell you why. It's because I had outstanding teachers at my school.
Yeah.
I loved them and they loved me and they treated me like I was theirs.
Yeah.
But that was their gift. And that's why I was drawn to it, was because they were so gifted at loving through education.
Yep.
And I think you love through what you do with portraits. I tend to love through speaking to people, whether it's a one-on-one conversation or if I'm recording something for someone, or when I was on the air, I loved my audience.
Yeah.
Every time I cracked the mic, my intention was to inform, educate, or create joy.
Yes. Yeah.
Play your favorite song. How much more fun can your job be to play somebody's favorite song, right?
Right.
To make them want to turn the radio up and just roll down the windows and sing along. That's how I approached it. And I think that's what you're talking about, that feeling of just excitement and wonder and playfulness. And, I think as adults, all we want to do is get back to being a kid.
Oh, yeah.
That sense of wonder, that sense of just, like you're saying, at peace, like a knowing, just the simplicity of just living life, right? Just being.
Yeah.
And there's so many stressors that come at us day to day, tugs from family, from friends, from jobs, from just life in general, that it's hard to get to that state. So when you find that state, you lean into it.
Yeah. And the idea of what you're supposed to do versus what you want to do. Because funnily enough, my senior year of high school, I ditched school one day because I was super stressed out.
Really?
Yeah.
You don't strike me as somebody who would do that often.
Oh, I would totally do that. Now, I was calculating in my head, all right, I've missed X amount of days. I can miss today. It's fine. I don't have any tests or anything. So it was a calculated ditch.
I can appreciate that.
It was a responsible ditch.
Yeah.
But I felt the weight of, it was springtime and I was just going, oh, all right, my senior year is about to be over. I'm supposed to know what I'm going to do with my life. And I just felt the weight of that. And I remember just feeling like, okay, stay home, take a breather today. So I went to Brookshire's and I bought Lunchables because I was still a child.
Come on. What adult doesn't still eat Lunchables, right?
There was the pizza sticks. They don't make those anymore, but they were so good. Ugh.
I do remember those.
I would eat that now if I could, but they don't make them anymore. But anyway, I was sitting there at my kitchen table eating my pizza sticks, and I just felt like, for me, a big, huge part of my life is my faith, my belief in Jesus, and my belief that the Holy Spirit still speaks. And I just felt this, what do you want to do? Stop talking about what you think you're supposed to do. What do you want to do? And I remember thinking about it and going, I want to take pictures. And I want to take pictures all over the world. And one day, it'd be really cool to maybe have some photos in National Geographic. And I want to sing, lead worship, something, I don't know. Both of those things so far removed from being an educator.
Yes. Yes. And I can see you educating through those things too. Especially
for sure.
If you were published in National Geographic, that is a platform for education for sure.
Yes. And so there too, I went to school still, my immediate thought after all that was, but I can't make money at that. That felt impossible. And so I went practical, and I was like, I know that I can make a certain amount teaching, and I went to school for education. I would not trade that, though, for the world, because my education has prepared and kind of undergirded everything else that I've done. And so it wasn't a mistake to go to school for education. It was part of everything else. I really, truly, especially at this point in my life, I'm realizing no season in life is wasted. It's just not. None of it is wasted. It can actually, even the little weird crumbs in the corner, they're going to be used, and it's going to be for something good, like that you would never think. I'm experiencing that now. And so it took me a while to realize that education is in me. I love teaching, but it doesn't have to be in a classroom.
Right.
It can just be in life, or you never know. I could
be a podcaster.
Yeah. Okay, Mandee. All right.
Just saying.
So, we limit ourselves a lot by these boxes. We like everything neat and tidy and put in these boxes, and life just doesn't really operate that way. But all I can say is do the next right thing. Just what you know to do right now, do that, and then take the next step after that. And it will unfold, because it did. It just all unfolded really beautifully,
I do. I've seen it happen in my life too. But this is about you. So the next right thing. You had that experience when you were in high school where you were like, I want to take pictures for National Geographic, and I want to sing. So then you did do the practical thing, and you went to college. So what, on that day, where did you leave it? You kind of realized you had these moments of this is what I want to do. But at some point, you either had a conversation with someone or something. You made a decision to go through the route of education. So what caused that decision? Was it simply practicality? Was it a conversation with your parents? I mean, it was the right decision, right?
Yeah.
We've established that.
Yeah.
But I'm just curious, what led you to that?
I think I tend to, I've picked up this sort of mantra that kind of can govern my decision making, which is what is peaceful is not always comfortable, and what is comfortable is not always peaceful. So for me, and what I do is comfort is really never going to lead you in the right direction, but your peace will. And so for me, I had a peace in pursuing education, in knowing that, just by choosing education doesn't mean that I'm giving up on a dream of singing or of taking photos and maybe being published one day. However, right now, if I go just in the direction of photography and singing, I won't get the skill set in education. So I can go do that and keep the others kind of I could have my cake and eat it too, maybe. But more than anything, that's just where my peace was, And sometimes in life, there have been things where even in podcasting, there's a peace with this. But there are elements to it that are uncomfortable because it's hello, I'm hearing my voice in my ears.
That's a new feeling for you, isn't it?
It is. But I'm getting used to it.
It sounds really lovely.
Oh, thanks.
You're welcome.
I don't feel like my voice has changed since 3rd grade, so.
Really?
That in my hands, my mom tells me.
That's funny. That's funny.
But yeah, it was just peace.
It was peace. So, and you mentioned that earlier when you picked up the camera at school that day. And then, you find yourself photographing a family for the first time at UT Tyler. You felt joy and peace.
Yeah. Back on the same campus that I went to school for education. How about that? First photo shoot. Never thought about that before.
Till just now?
Yes. Holy snap. God, all right, I see you.
Okay. I know, he sees us.
Yeah, he does.
He totally sees it. It's funny listening to you tell your story. I'll have to tell my story on the next episode, but I kind of took the opposite route.
Is that right?
I did. Just the very short version of it is I had an opportunity to go into radio whenever I left community college, and I had an opportunity to go on and pursue a degree, like a bachelor's or a master's or whatever. And the school that I wanted to go to, I got rejected from. And so, sometimes it's like what you think is an obstacle or a rejection can actually point you in the direction that you need to go.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so for me, that's what happened was I had an opportunity to go into radio and earn in a year about what it was going to cost me to go on to school, what I would be spending for tuition, or I could go to school. And I wasn't guaranteed in because I hadn't gotten into the school I wanted to. So I was going to have to go, make a choice to go to a different state school. And I talked to my mom about it, and I was like, what do I do? I have the opportunity to follow this route, or I can stick with school, which felt like the safe route.
Yeah.
It felt like the comfortable route. But I had already been working part-time in radio at this point for 3 years. And I loved it.
Yeah. You loved it.
Fun.
Yeah.
And Mom was like, you can always go back to school.
Oh, shout out to your mom.
She said, you don't always know that you'll have an opportunity to take this career in radio. It's kind of a unique thing. Like, it may not come along again.
Yeah.
But you can always go back and get your degree.
Man, I'm telling you what, that right there, that is so invaluable, because that is, seriously, shout out to your mom. That is fabulous parenting.
We'll have to talk more about her on other days, but she is pretty outstanding. She's been incredibly supportive of risky, mitigated risk, like you were saying earlier.
Yeah, it's responsible.
It was a responsible ditch. I've had some moments that were where I kind of took the path of least resistance that didn't, and I'm kind of taking it now in some ways, and it doesn't always look promising.
Yeah.
But I have an inner knowing.
That's the thing. And to go against that would be foolish, because we're not smart enough to come up with some of these ideas that pop in our heads. Like, I'm not smart enough to think, okay, I'm going to go to school to be an educator. I'm going to teach for about 5 years, and then I'm going to stop and continue photography and, build a really nice business, thankfully by some great miracle be voted #1 in Tyler.
I know, I was so proud of you.
That's crazy. But I'm not smart enough or calculated enough to make that happen. But what I can do is know that I know that I know that I'm supposed to take this step. And then it's on me whether or not I take it. I can't put that on anybody else. And I've been alive long enough now to know you take the step, you will find out why you had that knowing.
So I'm listening to you, and there's this great explanation of what you said, like, what am I trying to say? Maybe a metaphor. I hope that's the right term, that I saw in a movie once. It's a film called The Secret. I don't know if you've seen it or not, but Jack Canfield, who wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul books. Remember how popular those were? So in this movie, he's talking about it. He said, if you imagine a car going down the highway, you can take that car at night and you can drive across the country, but you're only going to see about 100 feet ahead of you.
Yeah.
Because that's as far as your headlights can see, right? It's like you're saying that's the next step, but you can trust that you are going in the right direction because you've got a map, you've got that inner knowing, you know that you're going the right direction, you've got something that you're a future that you're headed towards, and a trust and a faith. Yeah. That even though you can only see what's right in front of you, you know to follow that direction. And that when listening to you talk, that's what it made me think of, was just like you don't always see the end in sight. Yeah. But if you trust that you're headed in a positive direction and that you're at peace and you're serving others and you're living in a loving way. Yeah. Yep. And I think that only having that little bit of light ahead of you, it keeps you humble. Oh, that's good.
Because, hopefully we would never think, oh, look what I did. I mean, give ourselves our props. Yes. But it keeps an ongoing, it kind of enforces this ongoing humility of I'm still dependent on just this little bit at a time because I don't see the end from the beginning. You know, it keeps you, I don't know, I think that keeps that in check a little bit, you know?
I had never thought of it from that perspective, but you're right.
Yeah.
It does. And it does. It keeps you humble and gives you, you know, prevents you from getting ahead of yourself.
There you go. Yeah.
There were so many things I thought I wanted to do as a kid, teach. At one point I thought I wanted to be an attorney, and then my parents got divorced. That'll shock you. That'll tell you no real quick.
Shut that down, huh?
Yeah. Or, I mean, I guess it could inspire somebody. They could go, oh, wow. So that's how much you can earn. Okay,
Ooh,
maybe.
Yeah.
No. But yeah, I really like that. So one of the things that we wanted to do on our podcast each time is we wanted to go through kind of a series of questions. So in the future, when we have guests, we'll certainly ask them these questions. But Ashley, I want to ask these questions of you. And I'm pulling them up on my phone. Only there's a microphone in front of my face, so my Face ID is not working properly. Okay, here we go. All right, so we're going to start with what gets you up in the morning or keeps you up at night? What is your passion?
Honestly, and I hope this doesn't sound pious or cliche, Southern Baptist, whatever. But truly, in my life, what drives me is the Lord. Because he has shown himself to be so present and so personal that everything I do comes from that.
What does that look like for you on a daily basis? If you don't mind me, that's not too personal.
No,
for me to
not
ask.
at all. You can ask me anything.
Okay,
It's
good.
fine. No, for me, it doesn't look like sitting and reading my Bible hours on end. It doesn't look like even going to church all the time, although we are going right now. But it's pursuing a relationship with the Holy Spirit and knowing that Spirit is a person and is something that you can have a relationship with. It's someone you can have a relationship with who actually does know the end from the beginning, you know?
Yeah.
So I trust him.
I love that. And that's what I kind of felt I was getting from you.
Yeah.
But I thought, let's ask a clarifying question.
Yeah.
Because I'm pretty sure Ashley's not just walking around with her Bible underneath her arm all the time.
Nope.
And I know she's not judging people or shaming them or any of that weirdness that can sometimes be misinterpreted.
No, and we can talk about that at some point.
We should talk about that
Yeah.
at some point. We'll do that. So what scares you? What are you most afraid of?
Aside from spiders and roaches, what scares me?
Well, I'm not scared of those things, so keep
Really?
me around. I'll step on them for you.
Okay, well, if we ever have one in the studio, you can just send Mandee after. If you ever hear
I
a
got
big
you.
thump, it's Mandee stomping on the spider.
I got you.
Oh man. Okay. I really should have thought about this. What scares me? I really think it's just being out of step with that peace that we talked about. I don't like thinking about being outside of where I'm supposed to be. That doesn't feel
And
comfortable.
not your comfort zone, your peace zone.
Yes,
Two
my peace
totally
zone.
different things. Because
Yes.
you are willing to step out of your comfort zone to grow.
Totally.
To be in that peace.
Yeah, because here I am.
I'm proud of you. Thanks. Amazing. Okay, so we both have listened to Rachel Hollis. She has a podcast. Is it called the Rachel Hollis podcast? What is it called?
Yes, I think so. She
think
has a
that's what it
couple,
is.
actually.
She does, doesn't she? She
Yeah.
has Rise as well, maybe?
Yes, maybe that's what it is. It's Rise.
Okay.
By Rachel Hollis. or
I think
something
that's
like
right. But she asks this question and we liked it. So we thought we would also ask it, what's your coffee order?
that. I love coffee so much. My coffee order is really very simple, but it's delicious. Like if
Okay.
I'm going through Starbucks, I get a venti iced coffee with like the classic syrup, sweet cream, but I want cinnamon stirred in. It can't be on top. No, ma'am. You got to stir that up for me. It's so good.
Cinnamon and coffee is amazing. If you've
just
never tried it, whether hot, cold, I'm a big fan. I
It's
also
so
put
good.
cinnamon in my coffee in the
Yeah.
mornings at home. Do you have a favorite cocktail? Do you drink occasionally?
Yeah, I do. I mean, oh yeah.
Oh yeah. No kidding. I didn't mean to embarrass you. You and I have never shared cocktails.
I know. We need to.
We have not done that. We've had coffee lots of times.
Yes, we need to go have a cocktail.
Do that. I would like that.
Yeah,
maybe our husbands should meet over cocktails.
Yeah,
that might be fun.
Yeah, that would be fun. Bradley's is an old fashioned.
Aaron likes those.
Okay, well then they'd get along great.
They would.
So if I am going to get a cocktail, it will be one of two things. It will either be a margarita on the rocks, salt on the rim, or it will be a vodka martini. With some type of...
Do you like the olives or no olives?
No, I hate olives.
Okay. Dream trip. So I love to travel.
Yeah.
A lot. This is a big thing for me. And I've been very fortunate to travel to some really cool places. But I want to know, what is your dream trip? If you were given a free ticket and somebody's covering your hotel, it's going to be a nice one. We're not going to put you up in like the Roach Motel because we know you don't like spiders and roaches.
Only if you come with me.
Okay. No, this is your trip.
Okay.
You can take your husband, whoever.
Okay.
But a dream trip to go anywhere and it's covered. Where would you go?
Switzerland.
Why?
Just the visuals there are so completely stunning, just in pictures and in video, that I just want to stand there and bask in that, and of course take photos. But I also just want to like not have my camera in my hand and just take it all in. And they have like train rides, I want to do that.
I was looking at some of those on. It's funny that because we've never talked about this before, but I was looking at an online magazine article the other night about some of the European overnight trains. There are some that are really spectacular and super fancy, and that is also something that I want to do. So we'll have to talk more about that sometime. So okay, if one of the things that we want to do on our podcast moving forward, these are kind of the introductory episodes. We're sort of laying a foundation here, but we definitely want to hear from our friends who are listening, whether we actually know you or you just found us in internet space.
Yep.
So if you'd like to reach out to us and be a part of the conversation, or if you know somebody and you think, man, I'd really like to have my friend's story shared, we want to hear from you. While I have been in and around media and radio for 20 years, this is my first podcast.
I feel so privileged to be your first co-host in a podcast. That's awesome.
Well, thank you. I feel so privileged that you're my partner because you really inspired this. It would not have happened without your vision. And I just loved your vision so much that I was like, can I be a part of that? Can I tag along?
All are invited.
All are invited. As of this recording, we are still laying a social media foundation. So thank you for listening. Thank you for being a part of this. And we hope you'll join us next time.
Bye.
The Celebrating Women podcast wants to hear from you. Find us on social media at facebook.com/Celebrating Women Podcast or on Instagram. Search Celebrating Women Podcast or look for the username celebrating_women_podcast. You can also email us. We'd love to hear your story or hear the story of an incredible woman that you know. You can email us at celebratingwomenpodcast@gmail.com. That's right. Email us at celebratingwomenpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you so much for listening, and don't forget to subscribe to the Celebrating Women podcast.